think I didn't do anything wrong, just enjoyed myself on a work trip and realized I deserved more. I even laughed with my friends that I might be done with my husband. But then the test results arrived, and before I could breathe, he handed me legal papers that ended everything. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. Before I left for the trip, I told myself it was just work, nothing more. Jonathan sat at the kitchen table with his papers, asking if I really needed to be gone so long. I laughed and said he was being dramatic. I told him a wife shouldn't have to ask permission to travel for business. He looked at me for a long moment, but he didn't argue. That silence made me feel powerful. My mother said I was too young to be stuck with a man who spent his life buried in books and lesson plans. She told me I should enjoy myself, that no one would blame me for wanting more. Her words gave me a strange freedom, as if dullness was Jonathan's fault, not mine. Paul, his brother, cornered me the night before I left. He asked if I was really traveling for work or for something else. I rolled my eyes and told him not to meddle. I made sure Jonathan heard me say that Paul was paranoid. As I zipped my suitcase, Jonathan asked if I'd call often. I said of course, but my mind was already on the trip, the hotel, the change of scenery. I smiled to myself, thinking how easy it was to play the role of the hard-working wife while stepping into another life. I closed the door behind me, certain I had outsmarted him. The first night at the hotel, everything felt different. Bright lights, polished tables, no trace of my quiet home. Derek spotted me in the lobby, grinning like we were old friends. He said I looked too serious for a business trip and invited me to join him at the bar. I hesitated only for show. Within minutes, I was laughing at his stories, sipping wine I hadn't paid for, and pretending the world back home didn't exist. My phone buzzed on the counter, Jonathan's name flashing again and again. I let it ring, then finally answered with a clipped voice. I told him we had late meetings and I couldn't talk. He sighed, said he missed me. I rolled my eyes at Derek, mouthing that my husband was needy. Derek chuckled, and I felt proud of the performance. Later, at dinner, I told colleagues Jonathan hated when I traveled because he was controlling. They nodded, murmuring sympathy, and I basked in it. I snapped a photo of the table, cropped Derek's arm out, and posted it online with the caption, "Team Dinner." Clever enough, I thought. By the end of the night, Derek leaned close, saying he hoped my husband appreciated me. I laughed too loud, saying he never really had. A camera flash went off nearby, someone at another table taking a picture. I didn't care. I was untouchable. At least, that's what I believed as I clinked glasses with Derek and let the night swallow me whole. At Jonathan's parents' house, I decided to play confident. Around the big table, I told everyone Jonathan barely spoke to me anymore, that he lived like an old man while I was still young. I joked that maybe he should thank me for bringing some spark back from my trip. My mother laughed and said I deserved better. I saw Jonathan's jaw tighten, but he stayed silent, which only made me bolder. Then one of Jonathan's colleagues, a family friend, mentioned casually that someone had seen me at the hotel bar with a man. The room went stiff. I brushed it off, saying I was networking, and added that Jonathan was too paranoid to understand business travel. Lydia nodded at me, but Paul slammed his hand on the table and called me a liar. He said everyone could see what I was doing, and Jonathan was too decent to expose me. The children looked from face to face, confused by the sudden shouting. Clara asked softly why Dad never smiled anymore. I told her he was tired from work, but my voice shook. That night, when we came home, the envelope with my test results still sat on the counter. I opened it alone while Jonathan put the kids to bed. The words blurred, but the meaning was clear. I couldn't explain this away. My mother's defense, my jokes, my gaslighting, none of it mattered now. When Jonathan walked into the kitchen, I shoved the paper under a magazine. He looked at me carefully, almost like he already knew, and I realized my laughter had turned into dread. Jonathan chose the kitchen table for his moment. He called me to sit, his tone steady, not angry. In front of him was a thick folder. I tried to laugh, asking if he was grading homework. He opened it without a word, screenshots of my messages, photos from the trip, even a copy of the test results I thought I had hidden. My stomach dropped. I rushed into excuses. I said I was lonely, that he had pushed me away with his silence. I told him the pictures were innocent. The result was a mistake. The gossip exaggerated. He didn't argue. He just slid a card across the table. His lawyers. His calmness made my words sound desperate. The children stood in the doorway again, eyes wide. I forced a smile and told them it was just paperwork. They didn't move. My mother came later, furious at Jonathan for being cold. She said marriage was about forgiveness. Paul cut her off, saying Jonathan had given me chance after chance, and I had mocked him. Jonathan spoke softly, saying this wasn't revenge, just protection for the children. Then he placed the final set of documents before me. Divorce and custody papers, stamped with the court seal. I shouted that he couldn't do this, but the seal glared back at me like proof carved in stone. He gathered the folder calmly, leaving me trembling in the chair, realizing the fight was already lost. We met in a quiet cafe, one of those places where no one knows you and everyone keeps their heads down. I chose the booth by the window, hoping light on my face would make me look softer, more like the wife he married. Jonathan arrived exactly on time, carrying nothing but a slim envelope. He didn't even order coffee, just sat across from me with that calm stare that made me feel smaller than any shouting could. I tried first with charm. I said we had been through too much to let lawyers decide our lives. I said the trip had been a mistake, that I only wanted to feel alive again, that he had pushed me away with his coldness. He listened without interrupting, and for a moment I thought maybe he was relenting, but then he slid the envelope across the table. Inside were the finalized documents, divorce terms, custody schedules, financial agreements. Every page signed, every line legal. I grasped for more excuses. I blamed Derek for leading me astray. I blamed stress, my mother, even Jonathan himself for not keeping me entertained. My voice grew louder, but he didn't respond. He simply said the children deserved stability, not confusion. His words cut deeper than anything else. When I mentioned love, he shook his head. He said trust mattered more than love, and trust was gone. He stood, ready to leave, while I sat frozen with the papers. Around us, people clinked cups and chatted softly, unaware my world was ending at that table. Later, my mother read the settlement in silence, her usual defenses gone. Paul told Jonathan he had done the right thing, his tone proud. Clara refused to sit next to me at dinner, choosing instead to curl against her father. Jonathan never raised his voice, never sought revenge in anger. He simply walked out of that cafe with dignity, leaving me staring at the documents and the folded test result he had tucked on top. That was the moment I finally understood. He hadn't destroyed me. I had destroyed myself. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.